Most companies have a GTM strategy, but very few have a GTM that actually gets the money. If your go-to-market feels like a series of broken spreadsheets and missed targets, it's time for a system update. Welcome to GTM, get the money live. I'm Chris, Ryan, and I'm Leah. Real your hosts, and we're here to install the operating system for your revenue. We're moving past the theory and getting into the high-stakes execution of what it takes to scale in 2020 fast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 0, GTM Get the Money. It's our brand new live streaming event. So we're going to have a little fun today. I'm going to introduce Leah. We have an awesome guest on today that's coming in all the way from the Boston area. But basically, this entire live streaming event is based on revenue. We firmly believe that revenue solves all as long as you drive the revenue to the right people. Leah will talk about this. This is going to turn into a weekly live event. 26 minutes and 26. Your time is valuable. We want to make sure that this is all about you. If you have any questions, any topic ideas, feel free to comment. We don't really care about subscribers. This is just creating content that we want to provide that's helpful for everyone around. So without further ado, I want to introduce Leah Perillo, my number 2, ride or die. We've been working together for years, and I think she'll bring a lot of fun to this event.
Well, I sure hope I do. Thank you for the introduction, Chris. And I, too, am excited to get this party started. You know, we kind of wanted to put this together. I talk to CMOs and CEOs every day. And the number one thing I always hear is usually I need a new website, I need new tactics, I need this or that. But really, it comes down to I need to fill my pipeline and I need revenue. So that's where we came up with Get the Money. So it's a play on GTM. We do go-to-market strategy. That's what we're going to be doing.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to introduce Alan Gonsenhauser. Did I say that right, Alan?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. We're partners in the GTM group. I've known Alan for a little bit here. Good guy. So I'm going to break down his bio. It's impressive, to say the least. I wish my resume looked half as good as this. So currently, Alan is the CEO of Demand Revenue. He's been the CEO since 2021. He's an 11-time CMO, a 3-time P&L GM. He focuses on sales, marketing, finance, ops. He has experience in just about everything. This is one of the most impressive things I've seen. He's a CMO coach, and he's mentored over 150 CMOs in his career. Currently, he's a fractional CMO and a GTM advisor to the private equity portfolio companies.
I've worked with over a dozen of them in the last 5 years since I started my own company.
That's fractional support, right?
As interim fractional coach, different initiatives like rebranding, repositioning, go-to-market, transformations, that kind of stuff.
All the things. And that's why you're our first guest. I mean, you're an expert in revenue. Demand revenue is the key theme here. And like I said earlier, Alan is a GTM certified partner. Our agency are certified partners. Great guy. No other guest that we want on for the first one to talk revenue and to talk shop. So really excited. So I'll turn things over to Leah. I think she's going to kick it off with a couple questions, and let's just kind of riff back and forth and see how this goes.
Sure. So, Alan, based on your experience with CMOs and CEOs, what do you see as the largest, gap for people or companies to get to their goals, to achieve their revenue stream, pipeline, whatever you want to call it? What do you see?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to episode 0. I'm really honored to be your first guest. And best of luck with your podcast. I think it'll be great. You certainly have the right technology and setup and all of that, and nice chairs and all that. So it's an honor to be here and be the first one here. So things that get in the way of revenue, there are a few things. So I see a lot of companies over-rotating on short-term demand tactics versus longer-term brand reputation to seed the market. And brand drives demand. Seen some recent research, really good research from Sixth Sense that talks about that. And 95% of companies are not in market to buy something now. They will be. maybe in the next, 18 months or 2 years, whatever works for them. But they are consuming content and developing short lists of vendors they will be considering when they get in market. So they develop a short list of 4 to 5 vendors they will think about when they do get in market and they want to buy something. And 95% of the time, the winner is on that short list. So if you're not investing in demand early, that's one issue. I see a lot of companies, and I used to work with Serious Decisions in Forrester, where I coach CMOs. I've seen so many companies that have problems with cross-functional alignment between marketing, sales, product, and customer success. And in fact, one of the founders of Serious Decisions did a study of 400 B2B companies and found that companies that were well aligned grew 19% faster and were 15% more profitable. And I've just seen that issue time and time again, lack of alignment. Third, and I'll finish soon. Third is, and I really feel very strongly about this, not centering on a narrow ideal customer profile, not understanding how to determine your ideal customer profile and putting governance around it cross-functionally so everybody is on the same page, not a marketing project, but a business project that has the C-suite's alignment. And then the last is I see a lot of companies over-focusing on new business acquisition and not enough on retaining their existing customers and growing their existing customers. So
that's a lot of revenue problems for sure. Is there anyone that stands out specifically? Because I think we're all used to and accustomed to teams being siloed and people going for tactics. Leah mentioned it in her opening that people come to us for website and for leads, and we're like, well, is that really the real problem, or is that just a symptom of the problem? Is there anything that stands out? I don't want to speak for you, Leah, but we would probably lean on ICP. For us, it all starts there. But what about you?
I agree. For me, it's all about ICP. If you haven't narrowed down on what your ideal customer profile is, and you haven't made that into your cross-functional strategy, and one ramification, you may have an ICP that you talk about, but if salespeople, when they try to make their quarter, they'll acquire anything to make the plan. That creates a lot of downstream issues. If these are not companies that you can support properly and have a customer process, a customer life cycle process post-sale that really meets the jobs they're trying to get done and delights them, and you have retention problems, or you can't grow these customers, that's an issue down the road. So you want to bring on customers. I look at 3 things with ICP. You want to pick customers that you can get. So look at your win-loss ratio, look at your gross revenue retention, and grow. Look at your net revenue retention. And then you also want to look at when you're segmenting, when you're looking at market segments, look at attractive market segments that are growth where, there are opportunities, but also look at your internal capabilities to be successful. Are you ready now to attack a certain segment that's growing well? And you have to balance. If you're not, you may need to shore some things up before you go after that segment. If a segment isn't growing and you're not set up to be successful, you shouldn't be putting any resources there. And if a segment isn't growing, but you're doing really well, you may want to farm the base. So I think, to me, it all comes down to strategy, business strategy that's aligned between the different functions. Does that make sense?
Total sense.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
I mean, we love ICP in general, and most people think ICP is just firmographic data, company size, revenue, employee, right? Like, it's the nuances in the ICP that drive. But for those of you listening, ICP, yes, you could use AI to help you, but it's the nuances of what you hear when you go to your prospects or future customers' boardroom. What are they sharing on the day-to-day? And you said a lot there that I think will enlighten some of the downstream problems that you mentioned. Sales selling the wrong deal, and you don't want to blame sales, but they're easy to pick on. Leah's in sales.
It's not a sales problem. It's a go-to-market problem.
100%.
It's an alignment problem.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the clients we work with, they're not super familiar with go-to-market. Like, it makes sense. A lot of people think it's how they go to market with their first product. But in general, if you get the ICP right, it will lead to revenue. If you bring in right fit customers, you're going to like them better. They're going to like you better.
Right.
And it's going to lead to increased sales. And we've had this problem. ICP isn't a static thing. It's an ongoing thing. But we had for a while there, we had 10 clients acquired in 20 months. Awesome. We did a great job. We got a handshake. And then what happened? we lost all the revenue there. So we went into ICP crisis, and we're saying, you know what, we need to shift our paradigm and who we're going after. Like, while we were doing a good job and getting the accolades, like, that's not who we want. We're trying to build lifetime relationships just like you. We're trying to be, an extended partner. But what do you think of ICP, Leah?
Well, I think, it's important to get ICP. And to your point that there are a lot of psychographic nuances that you have to take into account. I also think, though, that a lot of times organizations will come up with an ICP and then they want to go after the entire universe.
Right.
And so from there, then we
leave money on the table.
Yeah, right, exactly. But, we don't have, unfortunately, we would love to work with a company that has an unlimited marketing budget. That doesn't usually happen. So we have to be choosy after that, right? So that's where we get into total addressable and then total relevant market and really figure out who we're going after. So ICP is very important, but the magic of it all is really finding what that total relevant market looks like and where we're really going to put our marketing and sales dollars to get there.
And product dollars, absolutely.
And product dollars, 100%.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Is there a nuance that you found in your ICP, Alan? So you work with PE, you work with the portfolio groups. Like, what? Because I'm not sure if the audience is familiar. We're talking nuances because we understand this world.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if the audience understands, like, what is an example of something that is a nuance in your world in PE that's like a differentiator that you can't just put it into a data table and find out the answer?
Maybe giving you a couple of examples of portfolio companies I've worked with. My own ICP, I work with CMOs and I worked with private equity portfolio companies. So CMOs and CEOs and that. But when I work with private equity portfolio companies, which I do most of the time, I've seen some issues. Like, one example was a $800 or $900 million SaaS software company in the HR tech space. And they were really well set up to support and delight enterprise customers. Their onboarding, their customer success, their product was really well set up to support enterprise customers. But they wanted to make their plan. They wanted to increase their sales. So they brought on a lot of smaller customers that they didn't have the right product for. They didn't have a lower cost product for, so the gross margins were worse. And they couldn't support them properly because they didn't have the people to support smaller customers. So what happened is they had a churn issue, a really bad churn issue. And, that's a perfect example of ICP. Then there's another example, similar, smaller company, maybe 200 million SaaS company in the asset management space. And they were also bringing on a lot of small customers, but their product was, higher end. And these small customers would churn. And they would also churn through a lot of salespeople that were bringing on these customers. So all that is unproductive. So there is a revenue hit long term, but there's also a profitability hit and a brand hit of going after the wrong ICP because you just want to sell anything. And I'm going to be talking about this next month. I have a session that I'm going to be dealing with the whole ICP issue.
Well, make sure you share that date with our episode 0 listeners, if there are any.
It'll be the week of February 23rd. I haven't decided which day yet. But I'll talk about 8 traps, how not to do it, and the 2 ways to do it.
Oh, that's excellent.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, we're happy to share the link as well.
Thank you.
So with ICP, obviously you said it all comes down to strategy, right? Not everyone's our customer, like we said, finding the right customers. It all makes sense. And I love your examples of PE because we work with PE a little bit as well. And it's really valuable to us to be able to get their ICP and then they expand it throughout the entire portfolio. Not easier said than done. But I think one of the, back to the nuances, one of the nuances that we have the hardest time figuring out is I started the business 15 years ago. So a decade and a half ago, I was like, who's our customer? And I found really quickly that like we try to work with people who are extremely passionate. So does everyone else, right? No big deal. We work with people that want to change the world or the world they're in. I don't care if that's a dog walker that wants to be, be a billion dollar company. It's just those people, that vision, but we can't put that into ICP formulas, right? So we have to go around and figure out proxies to be able to figure out how are these people visionaries, not just because they have visionary in their LinkedIn profile, but what are they saying? What are they doing? So again, 100%. Yeah. What do you think? Anything else, Leah?
Tagging on to what you're saying, we also look for people who, so you're talking about proxies, who may work with partners that they're looking for consultation, they're looking for a partnership with consultants. So there's ways that we can find that, whether it's, they're in EOS or, some other kind of group where they're looking for leadership. Usually those are good relationships for us. Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. And I think we run into that a lot too. When we come into companies, right? You have the CFO, how do we save money? We have the CEO, how do we accomplish the vision? We have sales, how do we make money? We have product just kind of all over the place. Like, what do we develop for who? And then customer service, unfortunately, customer success, they're always the one I think are picked on, and they're responsible for upselling. So, for us, we try same thing that you do. We try
to involve the downstream issues that are created
right.
by bringing on the wrong customers.
And I love that you said common sense because it's getting them in the same room and having them agree together. Like, we don't tell people they're ICP. Like, when you go to a PE company or portfolio, when you're talking ICP, I'm sure I don't want to guess, but I'm going to. I'm sure they probably think they can get this done in a couple hours, right? So, like, how do you approach getting people in the room, walking them through agreement so they're walking out of the room like they're super jazzed?
First of all, the companies I normally work with that are portfolio companies of PE investors generally are 200 million to into the billions. And so, given one example, I first say, and this is not just marketing. It's marketing, sales, customer success, RevOps. The first issue was finding quality data. That's sometimes an issue where, companies have done so much M&A and they haven't cleaned up their CRM systems. It's cleaning them up and getting quality data so you can find which accounts had the best win-loss, the best retention, both gross and net retention. So that's usually the first thing, is getting people on the same page to understand why looking at ICP is important. And it doesn't happen in an afternoon. Usually it takes months to do some data analysis and then do the market analysis and the trade-offs. So I'll talk about that more in that February session, but, with some examples like that. But no, it's not. If people think, oh, yeah, we'll figure it out in the afternoon, we'll put it on a PowerPoint slide, marketing, send it out. And that's not how you do ICP at all. It's got to be, you have to have cross-functional agreement up to the CEO or a BU general manager, depending on the size of the business and all that. But there has to be alignment between the functions or it's not going to work. And governance around it.
Yeah. I would say that's a good takeaway, Chris, for our listeners.
I think that's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
I think so. If you're listening, which hopefully will be
for our
hundreds
hard, of
right?
listeners.
And that's why they hire you.
If you tell the sales force, if you bring on a non-ICP customer, you get 0 commission. That's tough. You may get some sales leader saying, I'm going to lose 3 of my people if I do that. So how do you get around that? So, there's some change management involved also, especially in bigger companies. And sometimes you can't get there right away, but you have to move towards it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Sure
And I like how some teams have incentivized not only sales, but marketing, customer success to be able to keep the right customers. Because we've all had the wrong customer. And we've all had people that maybe nice in their personal lives, but not the best people we want to do business with. But that all stems from teams getting together initially. So
yes,
I mean, it's just ICP. Talk to Alan. He writes about it all the time on LinkedIn. You can see all over. But just remember, again, use AI, have it help you. But it is the details. The devil in the details maybe doesn't apply, but I guess it's the best way to put it right now.
Well, you need humans to do it too. I see. You can use tools and AI to assist, but you need humans really to make it work.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think because you're a GTM guy, we're GTM guys and gals. we really love the output. So like when people come in the very first day in the ICP, they think it's X and it's J, right? By the time you work through several meetings and people have those aha moments, there's nothing more rewarding. And then after that, everything is intentional. Their investment, their budgeting, their sales, their marketing, the team morale is through the roof when everyone's going after the same customer. You said total relevant market. That's multiple ICPs putting together, like the right people.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's cool. I know we're beating ICP to death, but I think it's one of the areas that
important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's largely important. So
I think it's time for the mystery question, Chris.
the mystery question.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-oh.
So, well, we have two mystery questions. Well, I think we did takeaways we were going to ask you for one big takeaway, but I think we got several takeaways from people today. So the mystery question, and this is something new, again, episode 0. So we're trying everything out.
Okay.
So let us know how it goes after. So you're a revenue guy. You generate revenue for other companies. You obviously make a fair amount of money yourself. What's one thing that you've spent your own money or professionally, because you run your own company, that may be perceived as a waste, but you would totally do it again?
Well, Calendly, I wouldn't think people would perceive it as a waste. That saves so much time in setting up meetings and all that. I've invested in a couple of tools. One is called Lucky Orange that shows me how people move through my website. I can see the clicks they make. I don't know who they are, but I can see kind of how they move through my website. That gives me an indication of, what pages may be more attractive, so I can continuously improve my website. And then I just invested in another tool called RB2B. And I haven't really used it that much yet, but it decodes, not everybody, but a bunch of the folks that come to my websites. I have some idea of some of the people that are coming, to better connect with potential prospects and customers and understand what people are looking for.
We love Lucky Orange. We use Hotjar as well. We use RB2B. Pearl Diver is another one in that world that's pretty good. Now, I know you're a sales intel partner too. I think they have their own website scraping too. So all of this,
I haven't used it yet, but
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I want to take it this one step further. What's aspirational? Like what's in your personal life that you've just spent a lot of money on, other than your wife, because that's always valuable, like that you would totally do again? I'll give you an example for me. 100% I'll go to Disney at the drop of a dime. Anytime, any day. I look for conferences in Orlando because I love it so much. Some people perceive that as a waste of money. To me, it's the most rewarding thing I could do other than spend time with my daughter and family.
So this would be non-business things, right?
It could be anything. Doesn't matter.
I just went on a trip to Silicon Valley, and I went to 3 events. There was an event that AJ Gandhi put on with CMOs and CFOs. That was great. And then I went to the CMO huddles, Super Huddle. There were over 100 CMOs there. And, I met so many people that I knew digitally, but never met face to face. And it was great. And a bunch of people I didn't know that knew me from the content I put out, which was, wow, I guess some people are looking at it and reading it. People were thanking me. And then I went to the 6 Sense Breakthrough Conference, first time in many years that I went to that, and learned all about the buyer's journey and some new research that was done that's really, that I mentioned before a little bit about 95% of people not in market now, and also 95% they'll go with their short list they've been developing before they got in market. I've also, each year we've started going on trips to Europe. A couple of years ago, I went on a trip to Germany with 13 of my cousins and my sister to see how my father grew up. And we never knew. He never talked about Germany. And then at the end, I went with, there's a researcher's been doing a lot of research on my family. My grandmother, who I never met on my father's side, was killed in the Holocaust. They were from Germany. I'm first generation American. And this researcher found out how she died. And they actually put her on a train, and without getting graphic, she died in a field in Estonia. Estonia, it's in the Baltics. Been in the news a lot recently. It's like right across from Finland, but it's right near St. Petersburg, Russia. So I wanted to see where she died. So took a trip and, said a prayer, left some things in the field where 82 years before that, she perished.
Oh,
So I think getting the personal thing, that was a wonderful trip and very emotional. And, I would do that over again anytime.
yeah.
I don't know if that's what you were getting to, but
No, I mean, you took us a different route from the Disney route where we started, but obviously,
love Disney. We took our kids there when they were young. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think
funny.
as horrible of a story that is for your family, like it's rewarding for you to pay homage and respect to that, and I think that's who you are, right? I know you personally, and I think that's a great kind of end all be all for our first talk, Get the Money, which is more about get the emotions at this point of the conversation.
Sorry about that. I don't want to break it down.
You're good, man. I was on a high, but so no, I think that's a good, and I can identify with some of that. We've had family with similar situations, but it's valuable to share, and hopefully it's valuable for our listeners. Where can people find you, Alan? You have the week of the 23rd. We have this nice new podcast coming up. But you want them to follow you on LinkedIn, Demand Revenue's website. What's the best?
I'm not going to ask anybody to spell my last name because no one ever remembers. So you could reach me at AG, my initials, at dunnnnn.com. So my website, pretty simple. It's dunnnnn.com.
AG at dunnnnn.com. I strongly suggest people follow you on LinkedIn because your content's amazing. I was talking to a guy in London the other day who knew you, and I was like, small world. Yeah. So anyway, so kudos to you. Yeah. Alan, thank you for being our very first guest.
Thank
Leah,
you, Alan.
thank you for joining. Hopefully this was fun. First episode, zero episode in the book for GTM, Get the Money. We're going to talk about revenue. I hope to have you back. I would love to talk about that research. And you were alluding to the dark funnel. I think we could talk about that for a whole episode.
Yeah.
But thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Okay. My pleasure.